Welcome back to Duda Dojo, your go-to source for the latest Duda news, platform how-tos, and product updates. I'm Jessica, and in this episode, we are going to example and discuss how to build beautiful blogs in the Duda system. So let's jump right in. Madison, Alexis, I'm so excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is designing a beautiful blog in the Duda system. So you two ladies are on the show because of your expertise. Madison, our content manager, and then Alexis, you and your awesome graphics and infographics that you're so good at coming up with.
Thank you.
So before we jump into the how-to of this, which by the way, we are going to demonstrate this on the show today. I'm excited to have you build this blog.
Never been done before.
I know, first time at RivalMind. So this is really cool. And then we're going to talk about who we're building it for and why we're building it. But before we do that, let's talk about the value of combining strategy, the content strategy of a blog, and graphics. So talk to me about the value of bringing those two elements together and how it serves the user.
You heard me say it once. You'll hear me say it again. You'll hear me say it 100 times. If your blog is not attractive, why are you writing it? You may have the best resource in the world. And there are some people out there who will like read white pages and like the most
wall of text. Yeah.
There are people out there. But most, like the average consumer is not engaging with content in that way. We want something fun. We want something light. We want something fresh. And so if you do not combine aesthetics with your strategy, you're missing out on a huge chunk of the market.
I agree. I love it when there are resources that have visual references, so that I'm a combination between analytical and creative learner. So if I'm reading a section, or sometimes I will assess the asset first, especially if it's an infographic, so that I can then interpret the information that I'm reading. To where some people are the reverse. They're less visual. So
That's true.
I love having the combination. So before we jump into the designing this blog, there's a cool resource that Duda just kicked out. So if you would kick over to your screen.
Absolutely. So if we come take a look.
Yes.
We've got some really great updates from Duda.
Yes. So one of my favorite ones for any of you people out there, including us who are publishing blogs on the daily, especially with the Duda system, you'll see that now it offers the delete or unpublish multiple posts at the same time.
Revolutionary.
Yes, this is amazing because we used to like feed in 300 posts to just pull a feed, but we'd have to get rid of like 150 of them, and then you would have to go one by one to eliminate them. So now you can do multiple at once, and there's some other additional features in here that it offers as well, depending on what country you're in, how you're the date format, etc., what language you speak. So
no shade, no tea to anybody out who's international, but the correct way to write the date is month, date,
I think
year.
that is shade.
We're gonna hate comments for that one.
Most important part is the season that we're in. Give me the month.
Fair.
Give me a general idea of where I'm living before you hit me with that like December 14th or 14th of December. That's just,
yeah. So, but Duda be doing it right for anyone else out there that isn't in the U.S.
Can we get that on a t-shirt? Duda be doing it right.
Duda be doing it right.
Yeah, I'm sure you could design it.
Oh, I got you.
I'll get it printed. So definitely let's jump in to talk about what we're doing today, who we're replicating. We've we chose a pretty well-named brand blog to replicate here while we're live discussing this. So take us into this, Madison.
So the whole thing that we're doing here is we found a semi-decent blog. I'm not going to shade Tatcha as much as I'm shading our international fans. They're doing some pretty great work here. They've got all of the things that I would want to see on a blog. Most of them, I should say. We've got a really solid meta title. We've got, header structure for days. I'm going down to H3s and H4s.
Yes, it is a well-structured blog.
They've got internal linking, but there are some things that just leave me feeling lackluster. First and foremost is this massive
header?
H1 header section.
There's so much space in between those.
I know. Like I feel like I'm scrolling for a million years just to get to the meat of the content.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you've got, only one good. It's a good image, but there's only one. Otherwise, you're reading a wall of text. Finally, you've got, a massive gutter space because you're making way for these related posts.
All that white space.
Which is, I mean, yes, you want related posts on your blog because you want people to find other resources.
Yeah.
But once you get past like a third of the page, you just have a huge white chunk.
Yeah.
It's just, it's wasted space in my opinion. So what we're doing today is something a little bit different and it's a little bit fun. We are live building this blog on a migrated site in the Duda system. And
I can't wait.
I can't wait. I'm just so excited.
So we're going to, Alexis and I are going to let you go. You do your thing. You start building. And then I have several inquiries for you about these graphics today. Yeah. My first thing is, so get to it, girlfriend. Yes.
Let's go.
My first thing is for you, Alexis, like, when you're considering interpreting the content and turning that into some type of asset, infographic or not, just something attractive, what goes through your mind and what are some of the practices that you put in place there?
Yeah, I think that it's really important to comprehend the content first and really know what you need to portray to this audience visually.
Sure.
I'm very much a visual learner. And so I think it's super important to not overwhelm the user too much, with like more words. They're already reading a blog, but definitely to really give them eye-catching graphics that can bring them and still keep them engaged throughout the page.
100%.
Yeah.
And you've done a really excellent job. You and I have worked on some of the infographics for our own company, our proven process, et cetera. And it's not easy to interpret a process and put that into a graphic that's like easily visually digestible and that someone can speak to. So someone in a sales meeting can now use the proven process that you've created in particular. Talk to me about really what are some tips that you could offer people when you're trying to create engaging infographics or engaging graphics like that, but then also engaging converting graphics. And just to be clear, I know you know this, but for our audience, converting graphics are really, so RivalMind likes to put plenty of CTAs on any of our pages, not only for our website, but for our client's website. And so we'll create like banner graphics within which a user can click on and convert or get more information. So talk to me about, what are tips that you could advise other designers or developers on how to implement those and how to come up with those concepts?
Yeah. I think that you definitely don't want to, my thing is to not overwhelm the user. I think definitely keeping it, eye-catching while also like portraying the information that you're trying to relate to. Yeah. So for example, like an infographic or like a how-to graphic, definitely highlighting those pieces, but not having it be too designy. You don't want, to overwhelm the user with that as well.
Sure.
I think it's important to give the user some different things to look at, whether it's that infographic or even like an illustration that kind of story tells like what's happening, or icons, or just like exciting things to look at throughout the page. I think definitely understanding what it is that we're reading and making sure excuse me, oh my goodness, sorry. Making sure that we are portraying that, I think, is very important.
Yeah. How do you feel personally about infographics and illustrative graphics that support content? I mean, on the scale of developing websites
yes, I think they're very important. I did a lot of them in college, so I have a lot of practice. But as you'll see, I think they're very important, and a lot of people they like to look at things like when you're given this wall, like she said, the wall of text. Like I'm not like I like to look at the visual of it, and I think that helps me. Or like if you need to go back to it, I think having that short form visual of like the content is like important. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the very specific assets that we've created today for this blog, which how you doing over there, Madison?
Fantastic.
Okay. We'll be with you soon. We'll be with you soon.
Take your time.
So let's talk about, in particular, there's I know you generated a couple images,
3.
but then there's
2 and then an animation.
Yes. So let's talk about that animation that we're going to show off today. So what was your inspiration for that, knowing where it was going to be placed on this blog and what the animation was going to support when it comes to the content?
For sure. So yeah, as I said, there's the 2 graphics, but I wanted to make the animation be something special, and we placed it towards the bottom of the blog, which I'll get into.
Okay.
But the animation is of their logo, and I wanted their logo is kind of like a blooming flower, almost like a Japanese blooming flower, and so I had that kind of emulated in that, and so it kind of just animates their logo basically. But the reason we just did the logo is because we placed this animation next to content about their company. So like, let's say if you clicked on this blog, you read it, you don't really know who Tatcha is, but then you get kind of like their mission statement, like who they are at the bottom of the blog to kind of like highlight who they are.
Yeah.
And I thought that having the animation would just enhance more to who they are and have it be more exciting right at the bottom. You get a little treat.
I love it. It's just like you brought that little blossom to life. So that's a really fun one. And then I know we're going to talk about the header graphics. So one of the things that Madison's putting in place right now is we created what we call at RivalMind a converting header versus your basic header. And so you did a great job of, coming up with what image should be portrayed there to support the message to where we're actually inviting a user in right away to shop. So for whatever the case is, if they've read the top part of their blog and they're like, that's it, I'm in, we've got a converting point there. Yeah. So you did a great job with that and other supporting imagery. And then there's an infographic that we're going to talk about as well with the skincare routine. So I'm excited to talk about that. I think we'll save that. We can talk about with Madison as we're kind of looking at the blog. So Madison, how are you feeling about showing us a finished product?
I think we're just about ready.
Okay, amazing. Because after we kind of look at this, I would love to talk about what makes a blog impactful. So we need to talk about strategy as well. Yeah. We're here to make beautiful blogs, but RivalMind's SEO first. So we also want to make them strategize.
It's a delicate balance. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's see what you got. Let's see all this beautiful stuff. So if you're a Tatcha skincare user, let them know. We can make their blogs more beautiful.
Tatcha, please sponsor us.
Yeah. I'll take free skincare. So take us through this, Madison. What have you done here?
So right off the bat, a lot of this came from Alexis's original thought process and design.
No.
Well, so we've kept that marble background banner at the top.
Sure.
It's gorgeous. It's stunning. It should be utilized. Yeah. But it wasn't doing anything for this blog. It was massive. It took up way too much space. Here we've tightened it and we've turned it into a converting header. So right off the bat, you have the opportunity as a user. This is my conversion point.
Yeah. So maybe I've got enough. That's it. I'm sold. Let me shop their skincare.
Yeah.
You can always visit the navigation, but you know what? Why make your users work?
Yeah.
No. And as a user, I tend to click on little like CTAs like that. I'm like, oh, a new product, featured product.
And when you have packaging that is this stunning, it does the heavy lifting for you. 100%. You just need to market it right.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to scroll. We've got a different sort of a layout now. So that gutter space, gone. We've got a gorgeous H1. We still have that caring for skin tag. We've now moved up your sort of like snippet bit. And so it gives you a brief 30,000 foot overview of what is this blog about? We're building your skincare routine.
And then look at this. We're getting right into the meat of this.
Yes. So we have a stunning infographic that Lex built. We've got all of our steps. We have product recommendations here. And then we're right into the content. Same thing that we were working with before. Not a whole lot has changed, but look at that.
A little image.
Supporting imagery.
Supporting the content. So we've got a header here. It says we're plumping. So we have a woman here with a little bit more of a mature skin. She's adding that moisturizer to add some elasticity back into her face. It correlates. And if we were to dig into this, you would see that the alt text matches as well.
I love it.
This is also a good example of, kind of like making that imagery like close to like, their aesthetic, their branding without overwhelming that user. So not too highly designed, but I did add kind of like that purpley watercolor effect behind her.
I love that.
Yeah. So it matches kind of like the motifs that they already have in their branding without like pushing it, like not throwing it right in your face. You know?
Yeah.
Excellent.
It keeps a cohesive theme.
Excellent. Yeah. Because the imagery you choose, it does have to align with your message as well and your brand.
Absolutely. So we continue to scroll. My rule of thumb more or less is every 500 words, we need something to break it up. Either a banner CTA, an image, something to sort of pull the audience back out into the real world and go, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm not just reading, for homework or, something for work or something else. So we've got
the weekly treatments, which by the way, I found out the guy behind the cameras today, his name's Zach, y'all. He actually enjoys a good face mask here. So I guess his wife
honestly
and him do face masks together.
Yeah,
so
honestly,
this is not just for women. Tatcha skincare is for men too as well, people.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. We keep going down. We finish out our blog. We've got
There's animation.
That lovely little animation that Lex put together. A little bit of information about Tatcha.
Yep.
I think you mentioned this before, but if I were a random user coming offline and I had no idea who Tatcha was, there's no value prop in that for me of like, why would I want to support this company? Why am I giving them my money?
Yeah.
And speaking of giving money, we have another instance of a conversion point.
Love it.
So they can hover over each product. This is in the order that Tatcha recommends. We've got our cleansing, polishing, essence, that plump.
So they could technically click on that and go right to it and throw it in their cart.
Or if you want to explore more products, just go ahead and click shop now. Simple changes making a huge impact.
Yeah. I mean, so this is the example of a well-designed, well-strategized, beautiful blog, which we built in the Duda system, which RivalMind excels at. But let's talk about that aspect of how do you really make a blog impactful? I know some of the things are knowing your audience and tone. What would you say are some additional tips, high-level tips you could provide people on how to make a blog impactful?
So following your strategy, and you hit the nail right on the head when you say knowing your audience, knowing your tone. Who is this for? So we know that Tatcha's primary target market is women between the ages of like 25 and 50. So what do women ages 25 and 50 most typically like to see? We have elements that are light, kind of fun and youthful.
Fresh.
Yeah. Without feeling overly heavy or overly technical. Because the last thing that you want to do when you get home and you have to take all your makeup off is think like, oh my God, how many steps is this? And why do I have to do all of these things? This is first and foremost a self-care like first company. And so we want to really reflect that. We want this to be not just a routine, but like a rejuvenating like spa trip. And we're trying to really emulate that in this blog. And I would say that this goes for any company, whether you work in HVACs or you work in electrical or anything. Hitting that target market is so key. And picking images and picking assets that reflect that will help to build your brand further, especially in your blog content.
I love it. And kind of as we close out, let's talk a little more SEO. So strategize. What are some of just top level steps that someone could take before they start to implement a blog? I know we've talked about like not just structure, but topics, keywords. We mentioned tone already. Do you have any other tips for that?
Internal linking. That's one thing that Tatcha does really well. And you can
they've
see
got links all over the place
over this blog is internal linking, pointing users into different directions so that you can sort of take them down that customer journey one step further. Maybe they're not really interested in building out a full routine. They just want something that's going to give them more plump, more elasticity. Lead them down that path. Setting up your heading structure in a way that when Google's little crawler spider things get it all up in there, they're going to put you in a featured snippet or an AI overview. These are the things, these are the elements that help increase the user's readability, enjoyment of your asset, of your blog, so forth and so on.
And then Duda is built with features so that those meta titles, descriptions, adjusting the URLs, etc., are so easy to do, which is part of why we love using the Duda system. It's easy to make those SEO strategized decisions quickly and then republish the blog as necessary. So amazing work on the graphics.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing work on building this blog while we're talking.
Literally
it's
so
fantastic. This was incredible. So this is to everyone out there. This is how you build a beautiful blog in the Duda system.
In Duda.
Great job, guys.
Thank you. Hey, if you like this dojo video, be sure to try out this one or subscribe to our channel.